Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke, and I am joined by surging bantamweight, Richard Palencia. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Glad to be here.
It is great having you on. It's great having you on. Instead of calling you surging, I should have called you undefeated. You were undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. You just advanced from 8-0 to 9-0. You defeated your opponent for LFA 98 on Friday, so it was only 3 or 4 days ago. Here we are talking. So thanks for coming on so soon after your fight. Congratulations to it. And what were your thoughts about your fight?
Thanks, man. First of all, I thought he was going to come out banging a little bit more. He had that big kickboxing background. I was expecting more aggressive kicks and, it's a little bit of BJJ. He didn't really push the takedown that much or stand in the pocket with me. I was a little surprised about that, but still got the job done. Was able to push the pace on him, and I thought I did pretty good. Fought a smart, calculated fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you like that mindset, having a more tactical, technician, mental approach to a fight?
Yeah, I like to have that on my side. I was ready to scrap, though. I'm not gonna lie. I was ready to. I thought, I was ready to scrap and scrap my ass off. But I fought a technical fight, and I won unanimous.
Well, being an undefeated fighter, both as amateur and pro, I'm sure you were pushed in fights at some point. I mean, it's not like you won every minute or every second. So, in that fight, what were some situations that were tricky for you, if there were any? I'm certainly not implying there were, but I'm just saying, on an undefeated record, it's not like every second of that has been flawless. So what have you learned from your experience? And even with that undefeated record, when have you faced adversity in the ring, in the cage, and when have you overcome that?
Good question. For that fight in particular, I did notice that when I did get him to the ground, the one time I did, he was already in an armbar position. So I was like, okay, I need to, maybe not play so much on the ground or ground and pound, so I was rather, let's keep this on my feet. So that was one thing. In the past, man, I went into fights with a broken nose. I went into fights with my ankle swollen, to where I couldn't be as mobile as I wanted to be. So I just had to adjust and deal with the cards that I was dealt with, basically, and get the job done.
Yes, absolutely. I think your baby wanted to say that answer for you, but it's a great mindset to have. As a competitor, it sounds like you do mental in-fight adjustments well, which is huge. It's very easy for coaches to tell fighters, or as commentator, for people to say, oh, they've got to say smart. But it sounds like when you went to the ground with him, you weren't just on kill mode. I mean, obviously, that's a good point of MMA, finish ground and pound, but ground and pound has to evolve, because when ground and pound started 20 years ago, people were not as good off their back as they are today. Things have come a long way from what is effective. So what's a technique? I know you have a very balanced record: decisions, finishes, submissions. What's a technique that you're loving more and more? I mean, not giving secrets away, but what's just a technique that you like using and maybe adding to your game, or have added to your game in the past, that's no longer a secret, that you're glad that's there?
Technique, just controlling the bottom position, being able to control jiu-jitsu positions, not giving those up as easy. I was able to take the back on him, and I was able to control him there for a little bit. I wasn't able to get the finish, but I was definitely there for a little bit, so I was happy about that. I'm just getting better at controlling certain positions, either side mount or a half guard or full mount, and controlling those positions. And that's like the techniques that we've been working on and getting better at.
Well, I mean, that is great that you're seeing progress in controlling positions. The classic BJJ attitude of position over submission comes to mind, which is great.
Yeah.
When you were fighting LFA, which is known as a high level organization and also as a feeder to the UFC. Plus, you were on the UFC Fight Pass card on Friday. Plus, you're an undefeated fighter. And if that wasn't enough, MMA Junkie, which is probably one of the premier news reports on fighters, listed you as one of the top 5 fighters to watch in January because you had a January fight a couple days ago. And they were kind of saying, hey, you're like the next thing to be brought up to a Bellator or UFC. So talk about kind of the pressure or the level and what you see next for yourself since you are at an elite level already.
Yeah, I mean, just another day in the office. I try to look at it, even though I have an unblemished record, I just look at it, still keeping the task at hand. I still got a job to do and, getting to practice and getting better. So I try not to focus on those things too much. I just go out there and do me.
Well, that's a real professional attitude to have for sure. In doing research for this interview, I saw a notation that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that you started your MMA career as a sparring partner or a rolling partner with John Marago years ago when he was in the UFC competing for his flyweight belt at the time. Is that how you got into MMA more from, I know you were a wrestler, but you were just brought in to kind of give him work?
Yeah. I was just there to basically give him some wrestling looks, just to help him with his wrestling cardio and just to wrestle, we knew each other from the same high school. We wrestled for the same wrestling club. He was a lot older, but we just kept in touch. And then I always wanted to get into MMA, and he was training at a gym, so he was able to bring me out and start wrestling. And yeah, so that's how basically it got started.
Well, what's one thing that you learned from jumping in? Obviously, you already knew John Marago, but from jumping in to a seasoned, already experienced UFC vet camp. And I say that because a lot of MMA fighters kind of learn to ratchet up their camp as they go through amateur, advanced amateur, low-level pro. But there you are helping a guy who's already at a high-level camp. What was that experience like for you jumping in to such a professional camp, which was your first go around?
It was pretty cool, man. It's unique, and I'm blessed to be put in that position, and I'm just thankful to be there. I was able to help him with the wrestling, and then slowly started working on my, striking and grappling, and yeah, it was just a blessing in disguise. I'm just glad to be around such tough competitors, and we got a whole squad, man. We got lots of guys on our team, and just continue to get better.
Well, you were training at the MMA Lab, which is a famous gym known for putting out some really great talent. Obviously, you're one of their main guys right now. When you think about, and I'm only using the UFC, when you think about the UFC and you look at the 135-pound division, who do you get excited to watch in that division as a fan? And who are you excited to potentially get matched up against down the road? Because I think your call to the UFC, although I'm not Joe Silva, is probably coming here relatively soon. So as a fan, who you're excited to watch in the 135-pound division? And then second, who do you think you could match up against?
Okay, as a fan, I enjoy watching Piotr Yan. He's a good one. He beat Aldo, and I like to watch him. He's at the top of the food chain. And I like just seeing all those guys in the top 5, top 10. Those are the guys I kind of love to watch and see how they fight.
Cody No Love had that ridiculous knockout over El Sanzo, and I think that's his last big fight. And of course, Cody went on a pretty rough skid, so it's kind of exciting to see him back doing what he does best. But continue on.
Yeah, it was a sweet knockout. Yeah, it was real nice. Man, the bantamweight division is stacked. There's a lot of sharks in there, and it's like I'm gonna be excited to be part of that group and go out there and do my thing and get some.
Well, that's a great answer, and I can't wait to see you make that transition. With your unblemished amateur and pro record, your incredibly well-rounded skill set, the striking, the grappling, the fact that you're known submissions have come, a lot of different things, and you've already had a fight just a couple days ago. So you're kind of ready to go. But going forward, as sort of my last question to you, what makes you excited in your own development as an MMA fighter going forward, just for your own self? And we'll wrap up on that one.
1 second, real quick.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, one more. Can you repeat that for me real quick?
Sure, yeah. Instead of me asking you the question that I just asked you, like, oh, who are you going to fight in the UFC? Let's get more into personal development and end on the question, what makes you excited to go forward in your career as far as learning and developing yourself? What are you most looking forward to just going forward in your own journey in MMA?
There's a lot of things. You get, the sweet side of it is you get the money, you get the sponsors, and you get the all that stuff. And then, but mostly for me, it's just like growing as an MMA fighter. That's my true passion, my love is. Like, I always wanted to fight as a young kid. We used to, do karate moves without even knowing karate, watching Karate Kid, and growing up watching these blood sport movies. And my dad was actually. The first time I ever seen UFC was like UFC 2 or 3 on the VHS tapes from Blockbuster. So ever since then, man, I just like always wanted to be a martial artist and just competing at the highest level and just learning as much as I can. I'm excited to learn just to get better at jiu-jitsu and get better at striking and just becoming an even better, well-rounded fighter, and hopefully one day compete for a title.
Well, that's an incredible, humble attitude to have as an undefeated fighter, but I think that's what it takes to succeed in both your current level and the UFC level, is even with an undefeated record to continue to develop your skills, because as you develop, you'll become even better and better. We've seen that with probably the most famous undefeated MMA fighter in the UFC, Khabib Nurmagomedov, that he had to develop. I mean, his wrestling is just the greatest there will probably ever be in the UFC, but he's had to develop firsthand. And we've seen that with Conor fight, for kind of surprised people that he could stand with Conor. And then most recently in his last fight to throw on a submission, and he's never been known for submission. So, and I think if somebody like that at his level could be humble enough to continue to practice and develop outside of his main discipline, I think it's a great attitude for you to have. And so, thank you so much for coming on. If you could say for somebody who's never watched you fight, why they should tune into your next fight, whenever that is, whoever it happens to be against, we don't know yet, or any of those things, but why should somebody start liking to watch and tune in to watch Richard Palencia fight?
Bring those fight of the night fights, baby.
All right.
I come to fight.
Well, you come to fight. I'm sure you will have many fight of the night fights ahead of you. Thanks so much for taking time out. I know you're busy. You got a lot going on with your family and everything. So thanks for taking time. Congratulations to you on a huge fight and a huge win. I'd love to have you on the show again in the future. Sure. Blessings to you. Take care.
Thank you. You too, brother. Thanks for having me.